fisherman, he'll fish anywhere. Anywhere there's water, Lord knows he'll be there. He's just like a gypsy, mighty hard to hold. The great American fisherman got fishing in his soul. He fished in Okeechobee, Kissimmee, and Rodman Hole, Georgia's Lake Lanier, West Point and Seminole, Center Hill and Dale Hollow, good fishing in the fall. Martin and Eufaula, he gon' fish 'em all. Kentucky Lake and Barkley, Sardis, Ross, Burnett, Toledo Bend, Rayburn, and Conroe, he won't forget.
Little bay has got fish
yeah,
in it.
right here's where I want to fish. That's a big bass right there. Yeah.
Look, there's another bed. That's about five or six bass beds we've seen here.
There's another great big one right over there. There's a big bass right there.
How big is it?
Look like about 7 or 8 pounds. Great big one.
Big fish. Tell you what, this is the deal, Steve.
There's a couple scattered ones in here behind us too.
Let me get down here and shut this thing off.
This really looks good.
I tell you what, we got them. We got some nice looking beds here. Ooh. Well, that's the trick for today. Here we are in Moonshine Bay.
Yeah.
And Steve, you know, you've guided here for a couple of years here at Okeechobee. And here are all the airboats running. You know,
yeah, they're everywhere. Yeah.
That tournament we had last week, it was too shallow. We couldn't get in this spot. And Steve and I flew over the area. We found all these bass back here, and we couldn't catch them in the tournament. So
it would have been nice to have been able to get back in here.
Well, now we got a way to do it now. It's pretty shallow, so I'm gonna jump out. There we go. Let me tie the boat up real quick. Boy, we got the beds here. Okay. Well, I tell you what, Steve. Let's see. The rods that we're going to use today are kind of popping rods, and I think that spoon. I like that spoon for this kind of grass. This is that heavy grass. Oh, and one other thing, maybe we ought to get prepared and spray for the bugs a little bit.
Yeah, those bugs are all over these reeds and
I know, little few mosquitoes. And those little gnats.
Yeah.
I know, well, out in that pepper grass, you really get those gnats going. Steve, you've caught a lot of big fish here at Okeechobee this last year, which you've caught a couple 10-pounders, haven't you?
Yeah, we've caught several big bass.
Oh,
And, this area here,
this 12-pounder.
Yeah.
Boy, I tell you. Well, today we're going to wade because these fish are just so shallow. And there's an advantage to wading in the fact that you can stay low and be a lot more quiet. And we've seen 5 or 6 bass beds, so if we can work them over, we might be able to catch one.
Water's real clear, and they're real spooky in this clear water.
Oh, I know, it is clear. All this, what is kind of grass? This is a really neat kind of grass.
This needle grass here, isn't it?
Yeah, needle grass and joint grass. You know, this Johnson spoon, it's a traditional Okeechobee lure, Steve. I know you've caught some big fish on it in the pepper grass.
Yeah.
But heck, that half-ounce model, that's been my favorite. Just that weed guard a little bit, and a little yellow skirt. What's this, 20-pound? What do you have on there, Steve?
Yeah, it's 20-pound, yeah.
20-pound line?
Yeah. Need pretty heavy line in this stuff here. You get one of those big 8-9-pounders on it. They're hard to get out. They're strong. Those beds are right up ahead up here, I believe, Roland, and when we get up here, we ought to be able to get some good bites.
Just a little bit farther.
Yeah. They're right on the edge of that open water out there, where they can get a little more sunlight, I guess.
Let's get one. Tell you what, Steve, there's some big bass up here in this monkey box area. Moonshine Bay, that's what they call this. Oh, there's one. I got one now.
That's a good one there.
One now.
That's big bass. That's 8 or 9 pounder right there.
Oh, man, you talk about a hog, son. Hey, I got a giant on. Oh, Steve.
You may need some help with that one.
Man, I'll tell you what, he doesn't know how big he is. He thinks he's about 10 pounds. He is about 10 pounds. Son, no, whoa, I'll tell you what. He came right off that bed here, Steve. Boy, I'll tell you what, he was a big one. Boy, he's a big fish.
We thought those fish were 5, 6 pound fish, and they'll look a lot bigger.
See if I can
look a lot smaller in the water.
Come on, boy. Wait a minute, he's going around this other way. Wait a minute, Steve. Come on, Bass. Come on back here. Come on back, come on. Come on, come on. Jump one time. Oh, heavens. Got him. How big is he, Steve? Is that a monster?
That's a giant.
Ooh, son. That's a grown bass. Tell you what, folks, that's what it's all about when you're fishing in shallow water, these big bed bass. You know, one thing about it, though, this is undoubtedly a spawning female. And the whole secret with a big 9-pound fish like this is that she's going to have other 9-pound fish somewhere down the line, and we don't want to rob her chances of producing more fish like that. So I'm going to have to let this one go. I tell you, she's just a beauty, folks. I love them when they're that size. Okay, boys, swim away to be caught again another day. Folks, that's what it's all about. Well, today we're using basically heavy tackle. We're using a 6.5-foot casting rod. In fact, this is one I had the Shimano folks make me up on a presentation model, and I'm so proud of it. It has my name on it and everything. I took a recent trip to Japan. They gave me this rod. Gorgeous maroon color. And I'll have that with 20-pound line. Aren't you using 20, Steve?
Yeah, we got 20 on.
Steve has a similar rod, popping rod, 6.5 feet, and we both have high-speed 5-to-1 casting reels with a good drag. And that's a 1/2-ounce spoon. And it's got a good sharp hook. And again, a yellow skirt. If you notice that the way that thing swims, it just swims. I want to show the camera just for a second. It swims really enticingly.
We're getting close to some of those beds over here again now.
Boy, I tell you, there's a lot of beds here. Well, you know, like on a good day, say if you're either lure fishing, how many big bass would you catch a day? Say about 3 or 4?
Yeah, 3 or 4 on a real good day, yeah.
But now shiner fishing,
there he is, Roland.
Hey, you got one now. Hey, way to go, Steve. Wow, look at that fish go. Woo, son. Boy, that is a big one. Hey, I tell you what, Steve, that is a big fish.
Boy, he hit me kind of close to the boat, too.
Hold him up, bud. I'm glad you have a 20-pound line.
Right there, yeah.
Hey, that's at least 7 pounds. I'm talking about a nice one. I'm talking about a good one. Son, I guarantee you.
Boy, he swallowed that spoon, too. He took that thing deep.
That's a big fish. Oh, I tell you what, that's great.
That is a nice bass
these
right there.
These big spawners are something.
Yeah.
They're really nice fish.
But she's just full of eggs,
that's really something else.
That was a big old bed right over there,
Oh,
too.
yeah. I just stepped in one right here.
bed.
I went down. Look at that.
Yeah.
See, I'm up, down, and I went down to the bed. It's an old bed. It's not. You know, you got to be careful when you're wading not to destroy these beds. You know. Well, that's a nice fish. Look at that.
Well, that's a pretty fish right there.
Boy, I tell you what. That's at least maybe 7.5 pounds.
Yeah,
that's going to be your 251st big bass
big
this year.
Let's turn her loose and let her get back on that bed over there.
Okay.
She'll be fine.
Yeah, let's let her go, Steve.
Okay. Yeah, she's
Boy,
gonna
that's
be
a nice
fine.
one.
Yeah.
Boy, she's a nice fish.
She went right back to that bed.
Yeah,
too.
I bet she'll be on that bed again tomorrow.
Yeah.
And the fry that she'll lay will probably be like her, say 7 or 8 pound fish. Boy, that's something else.
Let's see, right over here and try to get another one. There's some more beds right up here off this
there's a
little
bunch
point.
of beds here. I tell you what, there's plenty more places after we finish, you know, right in here. We ought to get back in the airboat and see if we can't find another patch of those
we saw some big beds out there, yeah.
Boy, there were a bunch of them here. Oh,
There's
yeah,
one.
you got another.
There's
hey,
another big one.
You got another. Hey, I'm hung up.
Boy, that looks good right
I'm
there.
hung in the bulrushes
That's another
here.
big bass right
Hey,
there.
That's another big bass.
6
Son,
6 pound maybe.
I tell you what, son, you're banging them out.
Come on in here.
What do you think, son? Hey,
Another good bass. Another
Hey,
good
look at
old
that.
chubby largemouth.
I tell you what, that's a nice
That's
fish.
5.5, 6 pound
Oh yeah,
fish.
that's a nice fish, Steve.
Let's turn
a
him
good one.
loose.
Well, I tell you what, we're getting them today, son. They're here.
Well, they're liking these spoons.
You know, Steve, today we're using that Johnson spoon, but you know, really a surface plug, either a Paula type of surface plug or like a devil horse type, that works good. And I know you like to worm fish. Now,
Yeah, I like that.
You're a fantastic worm fisherman. I know you've caught a lot of big fish in the shallow water on worms. But really, there's any number of ways to catch fish in this depth water.
You know, Roland, sometimes these pockets pay off real good. It's real calm water back there, and they spawn a lot back in there.
They spawn a lot in those pockets, you're right. I'd say pockets would be, but you know, pockets are probably the best, but you know, these points, you can't really undersell the points because particularly a feeding fish, whether he's spawning or not, he might be spawning on the point. But I prefer a point a whole lot. I'll throw past the point and swim that thing along. Oh, there's one. Got him. I got him now. I got him now. Boy, he hit right on that point.
That's a good bass right there.
Woo! Hey, Steve. What are you talking about, son? Oh, I tell you what. There's nothing wrong with him. He thinks he's about 10 pounds. He isn't quite that big, but he's a nice bass. He's a nice bass. Yes, sir. I love it. I love it. Okay, boy. Come on. One more time. One more time. One more time. I tell you what, now that fish was right on the point, right on that windy point, Steve. He was just right there, right, just as good. Okay, come on, Bass. Okay, there we go.
Nice
a little
fish.
5-pounder. That's not a bad fish. Not as big as the ones you're catching, Steve. He's all right.
Yeah, that's a nice fish anywhere. We might all start working some of these points.
You know, another trick that both you and I are doing on today's fishing, Steve, is this skirt. You know, a lot of people, they don't know how to put these skirts on a spoon.
Yeah.
But both Steve and I are putting the skirt on the same way. With a spoon like this, we're putting the skirt on straight rather than reversed. Like with spinnerbait fishing, often you'll reverse the skirt, but by keeping it straight like this, it makes it swim better. It really gives it more action. And another thing that Steve and I did, we pulled some of this off. It was a little bit too bushy at first, and we pulled a lot of that rubber off. But it seems like it wobbles better. If you have too much skirt on there, it just goes bushy. It just goes straight. You have to get that spoon to wobble good. That's what we have today. Well, that's a good looking point up there.
Well, there's 3 or 4 points up through there. We'll probably get a fish off every one of them.
Oh, I guarantee you there's some fish here now, so. Hey, you got one. Hey, boy, you got a good one there, Steve.
Lean him out again. Out of them reeds
You got a
there.
nice one, son.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
Woo!
Come back here. Well, I'm glad I've got 20-pound line on here.
Now, that long rod is nice to hold in tight like that.
Boy,
so
you get
put
some good leverage
pressure.
with them,
You
yeah.
can really do that. That's a good rod for these big bass. Oh, son, I'm talking about a big one.
That's a good one there.
He was a latent power. Now, I'm telling you what, that's a nice
I'll tell you
one.
what, I don't want
Ooh. Boy, I tell you what, there's nothing wrong with him.
Uh-uh.
Huh? Boy, I tell you what, he thinks he's about 10 pounds.
Come back here.
That's a good one. Golly, they. I love it. I tell you what, these fish are something.
Well, I'm going to have to walk him down.
I tell you what,
Come back here.
Fish. He's a good fish. Yeah, Steve, all right.
That's about the same size as yours.
Yeah, but he's humpbacked. Look at that. Well, I guess not. Maybe you're just holding them like that.
Well, spoon just fell right out of there.
That's
a
pretty
pretty fish.
Yeah, boy.
That's about the same size as that last
Yeah,
one.
I know. They're good fish in here. No question about it.
Let's turn this one loose.
Okay. There we go.
I'll straighten my skirt back up here. We're going to work some more of these points. He was right.
What do you think? Up to the right? There's all kinds of
it looks good up through there, yeah. Well, down here, you never know when you're going to get one of those big 10.
Ooh. Well, this daggone equipment casts like a charm, doesn't it? These half-ounce spoons go about a mile.
Yeah, they do. They're really easy to fish in all this grass.
I tell you what, Steve, it's been a lot of fun today.
Oh, it's been a blast.
Caught some beautiful fish. We've lost a couple good fish, but you know, all in all, it's been a heck of a day. Well, I tell you what, it's been a neat day. I guarantee you what, it's been some kind of day.
What's the needle grass up here looks good? There's all
Yeah.
kind of grass in here.
Yeah.
Just all kinds. All kinds of different structure.
I got one. Hey, I got one.
You got one? That's a good fish there, Roland. It's another good fish.
Huh?
He was all
He's not as big as the others. Oh, son! Hey, I love it. Well, I've cleared a little trail through here, folks. Trying to get my boat launched in the water with this four-wheel drive vehicle. I can pretty much launch a little boat like this little bass tracker most anywhere. I've cut a little area of this low section of the marsh, and of course I have four-wheel drive, low range with these big mud grip tires on this Suburban, and it enables me to get into these back, out-of-the-way places. Okay. Now today's fishing is a typical farm pond. Really, farm ponds from Ohio, Connecticut, California, Florida. We're actually in Florida, near my home in Clewiston, but it's so typical of farm ponds and small waters as well. We're going to fish primarily topwater fishing. It's the spawning season, and the fish ought to be real active. It's clear water, and we're going to fish topwater. So let's get after it. Okay. You know, many of these little small farm ponds like this, you really don't need a main motor like I have today, but I'm gonna ease out a few feet and then drop my trolling motor because I really don't have to go anywhere. The fishing is good. It's only a 5-acre pond. It's a little bit windy right here, so I'm gonna take my trolling motor and ease around to that calm water. Because really one of the prerequisites for good topwater fishing, particularly good Rapala fishing, is calm water. So let's see if we can't find some calm water and some big bass. Now right over on that shoreline right there, there's some good calm water. I think I'll be able to ease over there. And I'm gonna kind of sit down low because I think in this clear water, a low silhouette might be an advantage. And just throw up close to the bank, particularly where you have shady overhangs, like these trees, and slowly twitch that Rapala along. Now, the importance of fishing Rapala properly is that first 3 feet. If you don't have the fish really interested in that first little bit, you're not gonna probably get a strike. Now, there's some shady little pockets here, so I wanna throw into the shade. Drop it into the shade. Let it sit until all the ripples die away. And then twitch it just slightly. And it's clear enough where I can probably see the fish coming after the plug. Oh, no strike. There's some mallard ducks. Is that a bed right there? I see a small bass. I'm eased to these points and fish on these points. Oh, there's one. There's one. Hey, there we go. Okay. Little bass, there wasn't much to it. But he's a cutie. Tell you, when you're fishing light tackle, though, these little 1.5-pound bass are sure nice. There's nothing wrong with him at all. Okay. Little old 12, 13-inch fish. There's bigger fish in the pond. As clear as the water is, a lot of times you can spot these fish. I spotted a light spot on the bottom. It could have well been a spawning bed. I'll release him. There we go. Now, I've done a couple modifications to this plug. The main modification is extremely sharp hooks. I've taken a lot of time and effort to sharpen these hooks properly. And the other modification that's important for today's fishing is that little snap on the front. That snap allows that plug to actually cast a little farther, but it gives it a better action. That snap is a very important part of the action of this lure. I see a big bass. I see a big bass. There's a big bass up there. Okay, now here he comes. Golly day. He's right underneath it now. Big bass. Come on, bass, hit that thing. He got too close for us. I'm gonna let him swim away, and when he swims away, I'm gonna throw again. Okay, now he's cruising off to the right. Okay, now he's going out into the deeper water, and I'm gonna, okay, now he's far enough away. I'm gonna throw a short cast right over to him. He's coming up behind it. I'm gonna twitch it. Okay, he's right up on it. There, he got it, he's got it. Okay, there he got it, he's got it now. Boy, that's a nice one. Oh, he's got it, he's got it. Oh, boy, I tell you what, that's a big fish. That's a big fish. He's a big one now. Boy, I guarantee you what. Son, get up here. Boy, he's a nice one. Boy, I tell you what, he's a good fish. Come on, boy. I love it. Boy, the size of him. Look at the size of that bass. He is a big old bass. I'm telling you what, boys, to watch him hit that thing and come up on the surface like that is unbelievable. Boy, he's a good fish. He's fighting good. I'll tell you what, folks. Visual action of watching those fish strike these topwater plugs are just unbelievable. Oh, he's a nice one. He's bigger than I thought. He's about 7 pounds. He's really a nice one. Boy, he's a nice fish. Oh. Look at the size of him. He's about 8 pounds. He's a monster. Boy, I tell you what, that's really a great fish. You know, for today's fishing, we're in a community area. There's a road real close by, and there's some houses here. It's a well-fished area, but we're fishing it at the time of year when the fish are the most vulnerable. It's springtime, and the fish are up to spawn we're not really seeing them on beds, we're just seeing them cruise around. But that is really a trophy fish, about 8 pounds. I'm gonna let him go right here and go back to spawn to raise some more little ones. Okay, the key for that fish was spotting that fish and making a good presentation to him. And now he came up the first time, he came up underneath the plug and looked at it. We got a little bit too close to the boat and he saw the boat, but then I didn't move. I was real quiet and still, and I let him swim away, far enough away where he forgot that we were a threat to him, and then I made another long cast, good presentation, and consequently he took it. So that is the key for today's fishing. Let me get down in a low silhouette, start down this bank and look for some more big bass. Now, the shade of these bushes are sometimes an excellent place to cast your lure. Work it real slow and easy. Normally with this type of fishing, I don't try to cast every couple feet on the shoreline, but rather like every 20 or 30 feet, because if you throw the cast too close together, you'll scare the fish on the next cast. So you want to keep casting way up the shoreline. This type of fishing is so relaxing, I just love it. Being out here by myself and just watching the clear waters and watching the fish. Here's a little bluegill coming up my plug now, awfully small. I can't overstress the Polaroid sunglasses, folks. That's a necessity in clear water. Wait a minute, I see one. There's a fish cruising over in that shallow water right there. Drop it right there. He's coming to it. He's just about on it. He got it. He's got it now. I got him. Boy, I tell you what, that's a good one. Hey, okay. Oh, boy, that's a good one. 4-pound fish at least. I love it. I tell you, that visual action of watching those fish come up is worth the trip. Oh. Hey, wow. Yeah, that's a nice one. It's a 3 or 4 pounder. Okay, let's go. Oh, nothing wrong with him. Nice little bass. Well, I tell you what. You know, I want to show you how just sharp these hooks are, and how important it is to have sharp hooks. I'm going to let this one go. Just ease up here, and I think you'll be all right. There he goes. He's in good shape. That's good. Now, a very important part of today's fishing is having really good sharp hooks. Let me just show the camera how I sharpen a hook. Now, there's a real trick to it. It really works out well for really, really good topwater fishing. First of all, I straighten these hooks out. Okay, now, I'll take the hook hone and lay it by the side of both of those trebles, like that. Now, I just go back and forth at that angle, real hard, till I really cut into the hook good. Now, I turn the hook one turn, and again, lay the hook hone against the 2 hooks simultaneously. Sharpen real hard, and then taper off and don't sharpen quite so hard again. Lay it flat. Now turn it one more time, the 3rd time, turn it like that, and lay the hook hone against it flat again, back and forth, hard, hard, hard at first, and then slack off, and that finally sharpens it up so that it's incredibly sharp. Boy, this thing's sharp. It's so sharp, it's just really, really sharp. And that's what I've done on today's fishing, had sharp, sharp hooks, and so I'm just gonna check them. They're all pretty sharp. They're all really needle sharp. Okay, they're all good. Ready for another one. And another thing, I'll test that line. That's 8-pound test line, so I want to make sure that there's no frays on the line. I'll even pull on it to check it. I tie a Palomar knot, and again, I use a clip. The clip allows the plug to have more action and also allows it to cast farther, and it actually makes it float better. I'm coupling that up with about a 6-foot heavy-duty fighting rod, which is my choice for Rapala fishing. Now, when you pick a rod to fish Rapalas, some rods won't cast it well. What you want the Rapala to do is to go in a straight line like a torpedo. Now, watch this cast. It won't flip through the air. It'll go in a straight line like a torpedo. It doesn't turn and twist around. If you have a rod that accelerates it at the wrong speed, the lure will tumble through the air, and it'll catch in the wind, and it won't be an accurate cast. The only way you can get a good accurate cast out of a small, light lure like this is to have it go like a torpedo, straight in line. Now, this particular type of swimming minnow comes in about 6 or 7 different sizes. This one is the 4.5-inch model, or what they call the number 11 centimeter. It's the number 11, and it's 11 centimeters long, or 4.5 inches long. And that one's a gold minnow, because the gold simulates the golden shiner, which is often the favored game fish of these particular Florida bass. It has a black back, a little bit of a red front. 3 good sharp treble hooks, and that is what it takes for catching these big bass. You know, on this little 4.5-inch plug, I've caught bass over 10 pounds on several occasions, particularly this time of year when they're either pre-spawn or spawning conditions. Really, after you retrieve this plug about 3 feet and you don't have a strike, you might as well just reel it on in. Let it sit, let all the ripples die away. Twitch it just a little bit. I'm taking up slack as I go because the boat's moving, but I'm only moving the lure about 1 inch or so. Boy, he's got it now. Come on, boy. Okay, come on, that's a nice little bass. It's not as big as some of the others, but he's a nice one. I mean, tell you, that's a nice one. I love it. Oh, buddy. Yeah, he's a good one. I love it. Okay, come on, bass. Okay. Nice little bass. Boy, you gotta watch out for this light line now. That light line, really, you have to keep that drag adjusted, and I keep working with the drag on the rear end of the reel. Boy, he's a nice one. He's a big fish. I can't do much with him. I just have to follow him along. He's about 5 or 6 pounds, and the line's light. I'm just gonna ease him up along here, try to land him here in a second. Oh, that's a good fish. Good fish. Okay, boys. Let's see. Be careful that he doesn't hook you. My heavens, that's a trophy and a half. That's a good one. Nothing wrong with him. Nothing wrong with him at all. I should have a pair of pliers with me. Really difficult unhooking these fish. Boy, he's a pretty one, though. At least 5 pounds. Just a nice, nice bass. I want to let him go. There, he's in a perfect shape. Okay. That was quite an exciting thing. This little pond's full of them. And the reason for this little pond being full of fish, of course, is that we've caught and released these fish time and time again, keeping a good population at hand. Oh, boy, look at that one. Look at that big bass. Oh, my heavens, look at the size of him. He must be 8 or 9 pounds. Okay. Oh, that's the little one. That's the little one. That's not the great big one. There's a great big monster over there. It's about 10 pounds. This is just a little one here. This is just a little one. This isn't half the size of the other one. This isn't half the size of the other one. As soon as I get this one out, I'm going to go for the big one. The big one is just really a monster. The big one is really big. This one here is nothing. This is a little 5-pounder. The other one is twice as big. And folks, I'm going to turn the boat and throw over at the big one, because this is a 5-pounder, but there's a monster bass over there that came up, and I see him right now. Don't anybody move. We're going to get him and drop this one back. Okay, now, folks, now this is the big one of the day. Here's the big fish of the day, folks, if he hits. Big fish of the day. Now, watch it. Here he comes. He's right underneath it. He's got it. Big bass, big bass. I mean, a big bass. I got a monster, son. I mean, a really big one for 6-pound line. I got the big one here. I got the big one. I mean, we got the big one now. Son, we got the big one. Oh, I mean, a really trophy. This is what it's all about. This is what it's all about, folks. That first one was right underneath him, and he came out at first, but this big one was right there. With this clear water and these Polaroid sunglasses, you could see him the whole time. Just so exciting. It was just the most exciting thing this whole year to see this big bass laying there in the water. Oh, talking about a giant. Son, what are we talking about? Oh, I love it when you get that visual contact of these big, big bass coming up and grabbing these little small rapalas. It's just unbelievable. I'm telling you, it's the finest time of the year when you can get them on topwater like this. Great big trophy fish, nearly 10 pounds, and we could see them come up and take that lure. It's just unbelievable. For today's pattern, Bobby, we'd probably be better off flipping the real big clumps of stuff like we have right behind us.
Well, it looks like most of them has got some heavy mats in them. I like those heavy mats.
Really heavy stuff, all dead stuff, all built in real good. That has some real good, good cover there. And today we're gonna be fishing worms, plastic worms. That's my favorite anyhow. I tell you what, that big
For sure,
hit those
for
worms.
sure, it's mine.
And we're talking to the worm man, the man that's invented more plastic worms and built more worms, and you got a fine plastic worm, let me tell you. But you know, we got to figure out a little bit about just what kind of plastic worm we're going to fish. What would you recommend for today's fishing?
Well, there's different types. I think probably the first thing that I'd try to decide if I was fishing today, Roland, would be what color.
Okay.
And, you know, I use a color selector in deciding that, because I think that takes a lot of the guesswork, or just about every bit of the guesswork out of it.
Let me try that color selector right here by these reeds, because that'll give us an indication of the bottom conditions right at this spot.
Yes, it will, Roland.
Okay, so
right in the area where you're...
Let me turn it on.
Where you're going to be fishing.
Okay, it's on right there. Hold on to these reeds. I'll drop it down. Right into the... Right in next to the reed.
I like to go into the darker...
Right next to the reed now.
Where you're going to be fishing, and you know...
Okay, it says red. It's a solid red. It's a good solid red.
Yes, it is.
So I guess we need to use a red plastic worm.
Now, see what that's showing on that inner band is your red colors.
Well, see, we're in clear.
And you got your outer band, see?
We're in clear water.
It's showing the fluorescent colors. So you're showing red there. And let's see what we're looking at. Okay, that's a fluorescent blue on the outside. And the kind of a firetail red is what color that is on that fluorescent band.
Okay.
So you fish the red and I'll fish the fluorescent color combination.
Okay, why don't you show us, now you have a worm pack that's set up with all the color selector colors on it.
Right.
And that would be a good choice.
This is a good beginner's package, Roland.
So it has all the different colors of the worms right in that same package. Okay. Okay, now that's, how many colors in there? 13?
13.
Now, the nice thing about these colors, they don't bleed together.
Well, we use special color, and it makes it a little better, and you can mix them together.
Let me lay these out here on the deck and look at these for a second. Now, you said, okay, that color there, that's the color.
That's the red, that's the standard solid color reds. That's the color that I suggested that you use.
I'll fish that one, okay.
Okay. And then here's the fluorescent blue and red together.
Okay. Well, let me put one on. Well, Bobby, I'm going to hook up a plastic worm for one of those big bass. I mean, we're in big bass country today. I'm telling you what, and I got the tackle for it, too.
I'm ready for them, and you're right.
Starting with a big hook. This is that big brute 5/0 hook, heavy-duty 30-pound line. I'm going to take that worm. I'm going to come through Texas style, rig it Texas style, come through the head of the worm 3/8 of an inch, say, pull the eye into the worm, turn the worm around and the hook around so that I penetrate the point right into the body of the worm. Now I have that slip weight pegged, and I'll slide it down. I have it pegged so jigging in this brush, it's...
When you're talking about pegging now, Roland...
I'll put a toothpick, a little small toothpick.
And that keeps the sinker from sliding up and down the line.
Keeps the toothpick keeps the sinker in position on the worm.
And lets it go down through this heavy stuff and pull it down better, right? Now,
my favorite combination is this good 7.5-foot flipping stick. It's really a heavy-duty one with a good 5-to-1 ratio heavy-duty reel with it has the fighting drag feature, where when the fighting drag is in position, it locked. It's the locked drag, and you can pull them out of the bulrushes with that. Once you get them out of the bulrushes, you flip the drag up, and now you have drag capability.
It goes back to the regular drag setting that you had on to start with.
And one other thing I like in my plastic worm fishing, Bobby, and I know you do too, is a good scent. And I'll take a scent like this one, and I'll put about a drop or two on the plastic worm, just a little bit. That's all you need, a couple drops, and I'm ready to fish. So that's my combination.
Well, let's get at it then.
Okay.
I want them big ones you promised me.
Okay. This is a good-looking spot right here. Wow. There's a strike. There's a strike. I got one now. Man, what are you talking about? Oh, son, look at the size of him. Oh, boy. Hey, I'm talking about a giant one, Bobby. Boy, he's going underneath there. You got the net? There's no net. There isn't any net. Look at the size of him. I'm talking about a giant here. I'm talking about a big, big bass. Look at the size of that bass. Woo! Son, he's underneath the boat. Can you get him, Bobby?
No, not yet.
Boy, I'm talking about a big one here.
That's a good one.
Boy, I'm talking about a big one. Can you get him out? Whoa, yeah, I'm talking about one big bass. I'll tell you what, now that is what it's all about. Right. That fish is about 8 pounds. That's a tremendous fish. That's a tremendous fish, and he hit right at the corner of that heavy cover. That is one heck of a nice
one. Laying right around that cover when they do that, aren't they?
Beauty. You know, that's the advantage of flipping. You can get into fish like this that are just so big and so nice. He's just a tremendous fish. Now, he's been caught before, Bobby. See, this catch and release program that we've started here at Lake Okeechobee, we're always catching and releasing these fish. Like this one has been hooked before, his mouth is a little deformed, and I'm going to release him again. So he's a perfect bass, but heck, I'll bet he'll go about 8 pounds. What do you think?
At least.
Boy, he's a pretty one. I'll tell you what.
Good, healthy fish.
One nice fish. He is just a beautiful, beautiful bass. I'm gonna let him go and see. There he goes. He's just doing real good. Look at him down there. He doesn't know he's caught. He's released. There he goes.
There he goes. I believe it's the first time I've ever really fished with you, isn't it, Roland?
Well, you know, we fish together in the tournaments, but we're always in a different boat.
Always in a different boat, aren't we?
Yeah. You know, Bobby, flipping has 3 big advantages. I think the first advantage is that this accurate presentation we're giving today. You know, we're dropping that worm just right down in the base of these heavy bulrushes, and it's a very accurate presentation. So that's the first big thing. I guess there's a couple other big advantages to flipping too, Bobby.
Roland, the biggest thing of this type cover that we're fishing, you take a bass the size of a 5-pounder and up, and that's where he's at's in that stuff. You got to have the power and the line strength to really lay on that fish literally as hard as you can pull on him to get him out of there.
And Bobby, another big advantage to flipping is the quiet presentation. You can just real quietly lay it into those bulrushes without making any noise.
There he is.
You got a big one?
Yep.
Hey, you got a nice one there. Oh, son, what are you talking about? Can you get him out? Boy, you got a big one, Bobby. Hey, you got a nice one. Look at the size of him. I'm telling you what, he's a monster. He's going down in the water.
Really hold him out of that stuff?
Hey, I'm telling you, son, that's a nice one. Man, are you talking about a big fish? Can you get him?
That's about it.
Go ahead, get him. He's a monster bass. Boy, I'm telling you what, he's good. He's a big fish. Look at the size of him. Woo! Son, you got one now. I'll tell you what, Bobby, you got another, just a giant fish. This is incredible. This is a really fine day. Boy, we got the perfect
I'll tell you what, that'll make your heart jump up and down, won't it, Roland?
We got the perfect conditions here. I'm telling you, water temperature's about 70 degrees. The pH is right about 8. Everything's fine. The worms are perfect, and I'm telling you what, we're stroking them.
Evidently, the color's right.
The color's right. I'm talking about a day of all days.
I got that one stuck tight, I mean.
Oh, son. Oh, man, I'm talking about a big one here. I'm talking about one giant fish. I'm talking about one giant son. I'm talking about a real big one here. Oh, I'm talking about a really big fish. Boy, I'm telling you what, he is one hummer, son. I mean, I'm talking about a big one. Oh, I'm talking about 8 or 10 pounds at least. Oh, he's over 10 pounds. He's a monster. He's a monster. We get out of the weeds here. I mean, he is really one big fish. He is one super big fish. Let me come up here and get him. He is one really big one. Woo! Look at this one, Bobby. Man, I'm talking about a big one. Oh, what are we talking about? I'm talking about a giant. Hey, what are we talking about now? Bobby, that's the biggest one I've seen in weeks. I'm going to tell you, that fish is giant.
Look at this.
He's a big fish. He's over 11 pounds. He's just a huge fish.
Your hands both in there.
He's a huge fish. Look how big his mouth is. I mean, that's the biggest daggone bass you've ever seen in your life. That is one fine fish. Boy, I tell you what, don't catch many like that. But you catch them flipping.
That's a lifetime, ain't it?
That's the main thing. You can catch them when you're flipping, and that is the trick for today's fishing, catching monstrous bass. I mean, Bobby, that is some kind of a big fish. Tell you what, he's such a big one. I'm gonna kiss him, but I'm gonna release him. I mean to tell you, he is gonna deserve to be caught again another day, folks. That is the deal.
You marked the spot where he's at.
Well, what you have is about 10 feet of water going down towards some rock piles that are some remnants from the old bridge. When they built a new bridge, they dumped some of the rocks and the cement and all right there. It's just an ideal holding place for bass and stripers.
I crank it down real hard and just kind of slow it up like that.
What you have? You bumping them rocks.
Yeah.
There he is.
You got one, Gene?
There he is.
How big a fish?
He feels like a nice one.
Is he a nice one?
Yep, there he is.
Oh, son.
First I thought I bumped a rock. Holy
Really?
mackerel.
Hey, son, you got a good one.
Boy. Yeah, he's on.
I'll tell you what. Oh, big old bass. Hey, how big is he?
I don't know. What did he go? 5 pounds? I don't know.
Oh, that's a nice one. Gene, that's a good one. How big? He's 5 pounds. He's 5 pounds and he's an ounce. Hey, I'll tell you what. It's been a long time since I've seen big old bass.
That's one of the prettiest ones I've seen.
And folks, in case you're wondering where we're fishing today, we're fishing in a very unlikely area, right in the middle of Washington, D.C. on the beautiful Potomac River. And I say beautiful now because not too many years ago it wasn't so beautiful.
No, you're right. There was 5 or 6 years back, people were afraid to touch the water in this river, and all that has changed now. Local governments, federal government, the bass fishermen in the area, all the bass clubs, and they just did a whale of a job cleaning this river up and making things happen. They pushed hard and they won, and look what happened to this river. It's in great shape.
I tell you, Gene, a lot of credit's given to the bass fishermen of both Maryland and Virginia.
Absolutely.
The Maryland State Federation and Virginia Federation, you've been very instrumental in cleaning up the river and trying to get the river stocked and productive of fish like this. That's a beautiful fish.
Well, we've had a lot of cooperation from all the various governments around here, and a lot of waste treatment plants have been built, and there's a lot of food fish coming in here, anadromous fish species that these bass feed on. Just been dynamite the last few years.
Well, those planes don't seem to scare them any.
Doesn't bother them a bit.
They're playing every couple of minutes. Looking at that fish for a second, that's a real healthy bass. That bass has not a mark on him. He's about a 5-pound fish. Every fin is in perfect shape. There's no parasites on the fish.
Not at all.
He's eating well. He's got good girth to him, good color. He's just a totally healthy bass.
They have an awful lot of food in here, Roland. There's a bunch of little shad in here. There's herring in here in the springtime. There's just an awful lot of bluegills, sunfish of all kinds, crappie. They just eat well all the time.
Gene, where are we?
This is the U.S. Army War College. This is where all the officers are trained in the skills of warfare. Nice place right there. Even have their own golf course and everything.
Huh. Well, I noticed something else. This grass is something.
Place is loaded with grass.
What kind of grass is this? Boy, this is good
Some
looking
kind
stuff.
of eel grass.
Well, you know, 25 years ago when I left Maryland and the Washington area, this river had no grass like this in it.
That's true.
Now it's just great. It's super habitat for fish.
I'll tell you what, Roland, why don't you fish sort of parallel to the wall and see if any bass are hanging tight against it, and I'm going to go out here in the open where the rock piles are and see if we can catch some stripers out here.
Okay. Well, I don't mind catching a big old bass. I'll do that in a heartbeat.
All right.
I like those basses. But, no, a parallel cast to these rock walls is often a real good pattern, Gene.
Yeah, sure.
You know, it's a universal pattern because there's a certain amount of shade connected with that wall.
Mm-hmm.
And bass just like a lot more cover than a striper. You know, a striper, he's more of an open water fish.
He sure is.
Boy, there's a lot of rocks down there. There's something down there because I just hit them. Coming right along that wall, just keeping it deep in this. Oh, son, there it is. Hey, it's a nice bass. Hey, so golly day. Look at him. Hey, I got a good one now.
What is it?
I got a good one. I got a good
got
big
bass?
bass. I'm telling you, he's a big one. Maybe it's a striper. Woo!
Striper. We'll keep
I'm
casting
telling you
so
what.
I can catch one.
I'm talking about some big fish. Look at this. Look what he is. You know what it is? Gene, it's a huge catfish.
Oh, yeah, they do that all the time.
A huge channel cat. He's 7 or 8 pounds. He's monstrous. I don't have a net.
Guess what?
What?
You've got to bring him in yourself. I'm not touching him.
Look at the size of that catfish.
Catfish in this river love crankbaits.
Woo! That hit like a big Okeechobee special. I'm telling you what, that thing really did do the job. You know, I was picking the plug about half out of the water, Gene, and he came up after it and hit it just slightly under the water now, you know, and just caught me off guard, caught me by surprise.
We've caught many a catfish on crankbaits in this river.
Now, what else do you catch here on crankbaits?
A lot of the same crankbait will catch catfish, largemouth bass, striped bass. It's just, and even white perch will go after the crankbait. So it's a good utility bait to use.
I don't know how I'm going to get him in the boat. That's the only problem. See what I did? I ran off and I thought we were going to be catching bass, and so I didn't bring a net.
Want me to give you a hand?
Well, let me see what happens here. I think I can get him.
Watch them barbs.
Oh, son!
Yes.
Oh, I'm talking about a nice catfish.
Well, that's a pretty fish.
That's a good one there. I'll tell you what, let me unhook him. What do you think of this catfish, Gene?
Yeah, some catfish.
Look at him. How big is he?
All we got to do is fry up some hush
I'm telling you
puppies.
what, that daggone fish is about 6 or 7 or 8 pounds.
Good. Yeah, he's good.
Boy, he'd be a good one to eat, wouldn't he? Now, they've cleaned this river up to the point that you can eat fish quite well here.
Yeah, nothing wrong at all. We eat them all the time.
Well, I'm going to let him go.
Matter of fact, I'm thinking about some hush
But
puppies
that is a
right
channel cat, folks. If you... Oh, it was a channel cat. I was going to release him anyhow. But you could tell from the forked tail that it was. And he hit a little crankbait. You know, just a few minutes ago, we caught a nice bass. Gene caught a nice bass on this same crankbait. And now I caught a nice catfish, so they're definitely hitting crankbaits. Let me get all the slime off the line and check the knot. Okay, it's a real good knot. Now, how I caught that one, we'd come down from the spot that Gene had just caught his fish. We started coming along this wall, and we were cranking along the wall. Just, it's a deep wall. What's it, 4 or 5 feet deep here, right, Gene?
No more than 4 or 5 feet.
And boy, did he unload on that thing. I'm talking about a giant strike. He took off stronger than any bass I've ever had hit. It felt like a big striped bass. But instead, it was that really nice catfish. Gene, here on the Potomac, what water temperature do you like the best?
Well, right now, it's still a little warm. I prefer to get down in the 60... Uh-oh.
There's one.
Uh-oh.
There's one. 60 degrees, though, huh?
65, somewhere around that.
This is a smaller fish.
Is he?
Might be another catfish. I don't know.
I think you got a bass.
Hey. He thinks he's big.
Yeah. Look at him.
He's a little old 2-year-old fish.
Yeah, they act worse than an 8-pounder sometimes.
Okay. But you know he's healthy.
Yeah.
What is he, about 12 inches long? Now in Maryland, what's the limit on
In Maryland, it's 12-inch minimum size.
So that would just be barely a keeper in Maryland. Okay.
He would make it.
We're not in Maryland, so we could keep him, but I'm going to let him go.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, bass, there we go. Now today, Gene and I are using a little crankbait. It's a shad wrap type of lure. It's a balsa lure that has a deep diving lip, and it dives to about 5 to 6 to 8 feet deep, according to the retrieve, and according to how heavy your line is. Line weight is a critical problem. If you use too heavy a line, of course, your lure doesn't go quite as deep. Today, we're using 10-pound line. And I've also modified this particular plug. I've put a larger hook, a sharper, larger hook on the plug, and it makes it run a little bit deeper. I couple that up with a pretty long rod. I'm using a 7-foot rod. It's not a flipping stick. It's a lighter rod than that. And it's good because of long cast. And also, it's a light rod, and it helps the shock of light line fishing. When you have a long soft rod with light line, you don't have the shock on the fish, and you don't break as many lines. It also helps for a long cast. This shad wrap's a light lure. Consequently, I can get a long cast out of it. In the weeds. And also, I can put the rod tip down in the water if I prefer to get it real deep. So the longer rod gets you a better, longer cast, a softer cast with your lighter line, and of course you can get it deeper as well. First, just what color spinnerbait are going to work? Well, we have a meter here, it's color selector, and this is going to tell me more about what colors to start off with than anything else. Now, this is a clear backwater pond area, an area that early in the spring would often wade. It's only 3 or 4 feet deep, it's full of plenty of grass, it's clear water. Now, as you go out on the main lake, of course, we hit the muddy or dingy water, we'll have to take another reading. But for right here, let's just see what we have. We'll turn the meter on. There, it's all the way over on the far side. I'll drop my probe down to the water, down about 2 feet. Okay, now we're looking at the clear water zone. It's clear water here. So we're talking about the red range with a little bit of blue. So red and blue combination maybe is going to be the choice for the day. Okay, that's the primary color that we're going to work with. Now let me just show you a few spinnerbaits and show you how I'm going to make that decision. Okay, get all my spinnerbait boxes out, my trailers, and also my skirts. I have all the color combinations that I ever need to have, and also all the blade sizes and all the body sizes. Now, what's the first consideration? The water temperature right now is about 65 degrees. It's a pre-spawn condition. They haven't spawned yet. In fact, it's late fall. So with this heavy weed condition, I'm gonna try, say, start off with a small diminutive type of spinnerbait, something on the order of a 1/4 ounce blade, and because they're weeds, one of my prerequisites for heavy weed fishing is to use a double or tandem blade spinnerbait. Now on my rod, I have a spinnerbait right here. This is a standard 1/4 ounce tandem spinnerbait. Now let's just see what other combinations are available. We have many, many color combinations that we can work with here. Let's take the white skirt off, and let's see, we need some red and some blue. So what about, here's a red and chartreuse. Let's put the red and chartreuse on. And we want some red and blue. A little chartreuse won't hurt. In fact, for years, chartreuse is my favorite color, just clear water or muddy water. But now that I've been using color selectors, I see that there's subtle colors or secondary colors that emphasize strikes as well. Okay, now let's look at some blue. How about the blue in this plastic worm? Let's cut that worm off, say about 3 or 4 inches. Just break it off, and we'll put the plastic worm on the back of the spinner. Now, I also prefer a trailer, no matter where I'm fishing. Muddy water, clear water, a big spinnerbait or a small spinnerbait. I like a plastic worm or some type of plastic trailer in all situations. In fact, that plastic worm has some red or pink on it as well. So now we have a red, chartreuse, and blue combination, and that is a recommended color. Let's try it. Well, let me drop my trolling motor down. Let's make a cast with this spinnerbait to see how it throws and see what it looks like. Well, I see primarily a lot of chartreuse, so let me make one more modification. I said that blue and red were the primary colors for today, and this has some chartreuse on it, so that's very easy to alter. Pull some of the chartreuse off. These skirts are inexpensive, and they can be changed in any fashion. I'm just trying to get the colors in approximately the right proportion. There, I've taken most of the chartreuse off. Now we have primarily a red and blue. Now let's see what that looks like in the water. It looks like a red and blue spinnerbait. Okay. Now, a very light 1/4 ounce spinnerbait's my choice again in the grass because it rides up over the grass a lot better. There's a lot of hydrilla and what we call an alligator type of weed here. And so let's just ease along and kind of throw that spinnerbait over the weeds and drop it into the little holes. So I'm just going to continue to cast around this pocket. And again, let's cover a lot of water, folks, because spinnerbait fishing is a fast action lure. It's a reflex action strike. You got to bump the stump, you got to hit the log, or you got to careen off this grass. And you need to make long, accurate casts and try to cover some water. Remember, folks, a reflex action strike. That bass is laying there. You want to actually bump that grass or that stump or that log right in front of him, and reflexively the fish has no other recourse but rather than to strike the bait because the lure is right in front of him. So kind of visualize where he might be. Kind of picture in your mind a good little hiding spot or an ambush point, as I like to say, and throw that spinnerbait a few feet past that good ambush point and come blowing it right through there, and thinking in your mind that you're going to almost snag that fish. You won't snag the fish out of reflex action and out of intimidation. He'll strike the lure when it finally gets to him. Okay, folks, let's see. Get it right underneath that tree. Drop it down. Ooh, I thought I had a strike, no. Okay, now don't forget the heavy weed beds. Now there's some weeds out in this pond as well. Just a slow, steady retrieve sometimes the best way to do it. Oh, there's one. I got one. I got a fish. Oh, he's kind of hung for a second. There, he's coming out. Oh, now, come on. Boy, that's a nice, hey, that's a good one there. Hey, a Santee, big old Santee bass. Woo, it works. You match that color and you're gonna catch a good fish, I guarantee you. Whoa, boy, I tell you, these big old bass at Santee are just fantastic. These are big fish. Get them out of those weeds. Tell you, one thing I've often found is don't go too light when you're spinnerbait fishing. It doesn't make that much difference. Just go ahead and run 20-pound line. 17 or 20-pound line is really the deal here. Okay, I think we've gotten him tired out. I don't know, he thinks he's about 10 pounds. He's really not. He's really a nice bass, though. I don't have a net. Try to ease him up. He's about 5 or 6 pound fish. Come on, boy. That's about a 6 or 7 pound fish. Really a good one, I'm telling you. He's a nice bass, and he's hooked right in the corner of the mouth. Well, let me get him loose, and I'll release him to be caught again another day. But as you see, the bass took that red and blue type of spinnerbait. That seemed to be the color combination here in this clear Blackwater pond. And he's certainly a big bass. There's nothing wrong with him at all. So I'm gonna let him go. Okay, boys. Let's see if we can't let him go. Drop it down in those willows, get it down. It's 5 or 6 feet deep off some of these places. Just drop it down, drop it down. I got one. Oh, I got one now. Hey, all right. Remember, flip that fighting drag up. Flip it up like that. Now we have a regular drag situation. Look at the size of him. Now, these Santee fish are just mean. I mean to tell you they're big. These are not little bitsy bass. I mean, these are real hogger fish. Look at him pulling that boat around. I mean, he is really a strong one. He's a strong fish. Look at the side. Look at that way that rod's going. Come on, boy. He's like 7 pounds. They're really good fish here. A really good fish in this lake. I'm talking about a really good fish. Come on, bass. That's what you're talking about. That's when you're talking about big bass on spinnerbait. You're talking about these size fish here. This is what you talk about. This is the whole deal right here. I'm talking about 7-pounders. That's what it's all about. And I'll tell you one thing about a big bladed spinnerbait like this Roland Martin Special. This catches more big fish. About 3 years ago when I developed this spinnerbait, I developed for big 7 and 8 and 9 pound fish down on Lake Okeechobee. I had no idea that it would catch fish all over the country. This bait, I've won 3 big tournaments on it on the national circuit. It's been a fantastic bait for me for 3 years now. It works all over the country, but it is primarily a big bass spinnerbait. And here at Santee Cooper, where we have a lot of big bass, it certainly proves itself. That is really a nice one. That's what we're talking about, 7 or 8 pound bass, like that right there. That's what that big bass spinnerbait will do. Well, folks, again, let's be conservationists about it. I'd like to catch him in some big tournament. He'd be a nice wall mount for many of you folks, so let's release him. Maybe you'll catch him. Okay. Boy, he's a nice one.
He's a great American fisherman. He fish anywhere. Anywhere there's water, Lord knows he'll be there. He's just like a gypsy, mighty hard to hold. The great American fisherman got fishing in his soul.
Fishing with Roland Martin has been brought to you by Little Stinker Catfish Bait Company, the catfish bait in a tube. Minn Kota, quiet power catches fish. Ranger Boats, we still build them one at a time. The world's most advanced fishing lines, ultra-sensitive prime and tough strand from DuPont. And by Shimano, makers of the incredible Fightin' drag reels and Fightin' rods. Shimano, tomorrow's tackle today.
On to the Rio Grande, heading about a hot spot down by the Santee Cooper Dam. The great American fisherman, he'll fish anywhere. Anywhere there's water, Lord knows he'll be there. He's just like a gypsy, mighty hard to hold. The great American fisherman's got fishing